it's good to see you back, at least. We've read your fic, your new fic. I've got a question, just sort of about the sylph bones. I mean, yeah, I mean, do they hurt teeth when they're, or do they dissolve? What are they made of, the sylph bones?
Okay. Okay. So there is, I think, two elements of confusion within this story. Okay, the first is that the sylphs in this story, by and large, are not actually standard multiverse sylphs. These are essentially toy girls, like from the Toymaker episode, the Toymaker story, in the sense that they are basically just people who have had the localized physics of their beings tremendously fucked with. And essentially, it is that idea of just fucking with the localized logic fields that is what enables then the second element of confusion, namely the fact that there is then this incredibly stupid but included for the sake of completeness element of this idea that, you know, that you can use virtual reality telepresence to enable the totally safe, sane, and consensual boorish predation of pet sylphs.
I do want to go into that because in this new fiction, I think technology is quite prominent. I mean, it sort of like seeds itself with the waitress like taking the orders on a tablet PC. I thought that was a nice touch, but sort of at the end of the fiction, how it wraps up, you know, a year later at Christmas time. I mean, is that a 3D sylph printer thing?
No, that essentially is there so that they can say it's cheating around the utter squick of vor, in the sense that, like, in a way, this story is me being the nerd who is like, I need to know how the TARDIS works, trying to live side by side with the part of me that has this very strange fascination with a fetish that really doesn't make any sense whatsoever with regards to physics and morality. And so I'm like, okay.
How I mean, from what I can see, the fiction is completely separate from reality. Do you have a moral quandary with it, writing it?
Well,
because all of the girls seem...
You know the kind of person I am. I have moral quandaries about fucking everything.
But all of the girls are quite well developed. I mean, one of them's a lecturer at Harvard in quantum physics.
Yeah, in fairness, most of that was actually accidental.
But they're independent women, from what I can see. I mean, they're not... And they're giving their consent, their full consent, aren't they?
I suppose there is an element to this where it's like... It's almost a game that I play with my fiction, in that the fiction I write is increasingly getting more and more extreme, in that it's like, okay, so we've done pets, we've done toys, we've done people being eaten alive, now we're doing it to people being slaughtered daily, and now we're doing them being shrunken and turned into pets, now eaten alive and it's like this continual, things are getting worse and worse, exponential, but at the same time, how do we try and make it feminist?
But I don't...
is a stupid game to play, but I like to play it.
I wouldn't say your stuff is getting worse. I think, you know, in terms of the extremities, of course, but I think, because I've read the Contravoxi Survivor, and I watched the audiobook thing, you know, all 4 hours of it, or however much it was. And I think that's probably your most extreme fiction. I mean, because you know, they're on the run, aren't they? On the escape, on a spaceship. It's just a constant barrage of spits in Contravoxi's devouring. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
I think that's
you haven't read Where Sylph Dawning yet. I mean, Where Sylph Dawning, the reason it's taken me so damn long is that I've had to take breaks from this because it's been doing my head in.
Well, you read a sample, didn't you? I mean, last time you were on here. Oh God, I can't really remember now, but I can
Well,
remember it sort
that
of
was
started off with
just the first day.
yeah, well, it started off with like two guys thinking up this business plan of like getting this wear-self technology, right? This self pill. Was that? I mean, they're enterprising this business plan, aren't they? They're setting it up, and they're going to give it
Yeah,
5 years.
it's essentially how do I do a quick potted introduction to the central concept of the story, have the meeting where they discuss it.
Yeah. Well, my question is sort of linking into the end of this most recent fiction. Are they the ones that invented the sort of 3D self-printer thing?
No, no, no.
That the character receives at the end?
No, there is a connection, but it's not them. It's
Is Daniela the connection?
Well, that's an alternate multiverse version. There are alternate multiverse versions of many characters. I mean, I think it's brought up that Cassie was in Fuzzy Logic and stuff like that. But there are certainly this is the most pretentious thing to be saying about a set of stories in which women are kind of owned and eaten and slaughtered. But I am sort of building as a grand meta narrative in the sense that obviously I wrote this in the middle of writing West of Dawning, so I know what is going to happen in West of Dawning, and I'm tying that into that, and at the same time I have got this other wider arc going on of essentially the new Cold War arc for the Far Chinook's
Can you go into
on
that?
blog.
Can you go into the new Cold War?
Yeah, essentially the new Cold War arc is the Far Chinook takes on Trump, no, he takes on Raspberry, who is essentially what if Trump was competent?
Raspberry is in the fruit,
as in a pun.
Right. Okay.
As in a character that is cribbed off of. I actually realised that I wrote this story when it was like, okay, this is going to be the Far Chinook takes on Trump, and then I realised literally the story I had written beforehand introducing the Far Chinook had already actually featured Trump as the president. So in the canon of the multiverse, the parody of Trump, who the Far Chinook is actually having to take on, happens after Trump, which I think actually beautifully undercuts the fact that I think, yeah, Trump is probably going to be president, but he's probably not going to be much different from anything. He's probably going to break all his fucking promises like every other president.
Do you think, I mean, will this sort of Raspberry Trump figure, will he be erecting a wall between the multiverses? I think that'd be quite a nice sort of allegorical.
That would be physically impossible.
Okay.
Like in the sense that the way the multiverse works is that there's almost like San Dimas time from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, in the sense that a universe is a bubble of logic that is continually dividing in order to make way for all of the different possible permutations that could be happening at that particular moment. So therefore, you're like, boom, wall built, moment passes, shit, we've created a new pocket multiverse. It doesn't work, because the nature of the multiverse is that it is a quasi-living creature of logic. So no, Raspberry is more the danger of fascism and ultra capitalism within the society.
So how does this Trump Raspberry figure, how does he enact his sort of evil? How does he enact his fascism? Does he have his own world? Does he have his own country?
Well, to be fair, like the whole thing is that as the new Cold War sort of story starts, it's all about the fact that the Far Chinook is working behind the scenes to stop this guy becoming elected. But there may be a reason why in Daniela's world things get to the point where they can decide we're going to set up a system whereby we slaughter women every day and sell their brains to medical science. Right? Like there are there are connections being worked on behind the scenes. It's not just, ooh, big bad evil guy. There are shades of that. There are tentpole pulpy things going on, but there is also a lot more kind of subtler stuff too. Because apart from anything else, I'm critical of the left as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, the classic sort of thing in fiction is the bad guy doesn't see himself as the bad guy. He thinks he's doing perfectly right things, and I think that's a common theme in your narratives also. I mean, with like the Bamkirch and the Farsnook, they think they're perfectly right in what they're doing.
Yeah,
objectively,
there is an element where, in order for me to be able to write those kinds of stories, I have to sort of believe at least a little bit that what they're doing can sort of be justified. Because if I was just going to write a character who just was cacklingly evil and I shall destroy the multiverse because money, like no, like
yeah, it'd be 2D as a narrative, wouldn't it?
It's not that it's not even that it would be 2D. It's like I couldn't write something unless I could see a perspective where it made sense. Right.
Yeah.
So I suppose the freaky thing to wonder is to look at the stuff here and go, okay, well, how the fuck does that make sense?
I also want to ask you a question, because in Controvoxi Survivor, Choice World is mentioned quite a lot. Is that the main setting of each story?
No.
Is it Earth? That's the main.
There is no main setting. The main setting is the multiverse. The nature of the multiverse stories is that basically everything I create is set within the world, is set within the multiverse, right? This is why the D&D game will be a fantasy game by and large, and it will be set within the world of the multiverse. Like, that's the nature of multiverses. There is no grand world of multiverse.
No, but I mean in terms of sort of specific locations. I mean, you often do go into like some sort of Heathrow Airport, but like in this fiction you've just written, for example, I mean, they're in a pub, in a coffee house, or a restaurant. I mean, where are those locations? Where are they? Are they set in like real life Earth or?
Well, they are set in the Earth of that story.
So well, where was the restaurant cafe thing in this story? What did you have in your mind when you were writing it?
I suppose in a way, like the restaurant at the end is sort of Harrods or the Ritz. It's some new, or like Heston Blumenthal's latest experimental doodle. What's it?
I definitely picked up it was Michelin star, because you talk about how disenfranchised the waitresses are, and that the rich are serving champagne and eating these fine dinners of sylphs in like mint chocolate chip ice cream. You know what I mean?
Here's a case of sheer pulp that is there in order to essentially join the dots and to essentially allow to make canon a piece of art which I liked but has no way it can possibly exist within the comic, and in the course of which trying to sort of make it fit in by using rather basic satirical points, to be fair.
But you do make quite, like I say, I mean, there's always this level of like politics and sort of post-scarcity and stuff that always runs through. I've got a question about, so would you say that this work is your sort of first work where you've been inspired from Tumblr?
This isn't Tumblr at all.
No, but I realised that you've been browsing Tumblr quite a bit over the past like week or so.
Oh no! This isn't Tumblr at all, right? Okay, I have been browsing Tumblr. Yes, fuck all to do with writing.
No, but I'm talking about how the women are very obviously, they're incredible. I think these are your strongest painted women. I mean, the reason they are careers and.
The reason they are the strongest painted women is because it was a case of I need to keep this fucking short, and I need to get this out of the system. I need to dump a fuck ton of exposition on there, and I will feel crass as all holy shit if I'm just going, and look at them wearing the clothes that I have to mention now because they're going to shrink, and so therefore it's going to be plot critical that they, it's a case of, given my incredibly sparse writing style, if I am going to do this, then I need to make sure that the law of conservation of detail isn't going to make things stand out too much. This isn't Tumblr inspired at all. The closest thing there is to a Tumblr thing is the fact that, yeah, there is a character in it called Daniela who is a feminist, but the reason that she's there is basically because I'm in the middle of writing Where Self Dawning, and right now I have a massive bloody crush on Daniela from Where Self Dawning, right?
My point is, like, I'm not being sort of derogatory about Tumblr in the slightest. I just think that, you've obviously rediscovered this thing after, I think, you had a bad experience with it before, right? You were on it for a short time.
I mean, I have no problem with you taking the piss out of Tumblr because, yeah, I left
I'm not. I'm genuinely not.
But it is just, I find it incredibly hilarious that you're like, well, Tumblr did this. No, Tumblr had fuck all to do with this.
Well, no. I just wanted to say, like, has there been any sort of effect on this or Where Self Dawning that has made it self-evident? I thought perhaps there had been, with the strongly painted female characters, but
no,
clearly there wasn't.
No. I think the strongly painted female characters is more that when things have to be condensed, you have to go for exposition as opposed to showing, right?
Yeah.
Lisa is an architect. It's a whole sort of story point in the Toymaker that she's training to become an architect, right?
Yeah.
Cassie, it's a major bloody plot point that she's training to be training to learn artificial intelligence. And Daniela, yeah, equally, that's the main bloody plot point that she's doing this feminist course. Like, these are all characters who have this stuff, and so yeah, like, Amy's a fairly standard background character of me basically saying I really liked Amy Pond from Doctor Who. I like to crush on her. So therefore, there will always be a slender ginger woman who is delightful. But
you see the new sort of Jumanji poster. She's in that, isn't she?
Which was awesome until I realised it was Jumanji, and until Karen Gillian explained, oh no, there is a reason why she's wearing child clothes. At which point I promptly went, okay, not touching that with a 10-foot barge pole.
What, because of the clothes she's wearing?
Because of the very particular terminology she used, right?
It is one. I'm not familiar.
She very particularly said child clothes, right?
Oh,
so
okay.
It's one thing if a character wants to dress subtly because they're okay with their sexuality and that's the kind of person they are, and it's quite another thing if they are in some way screwed up because it's Jumanji and they've been trapped there their entire lives or something.
Alex, can you hear me? Alex?
Yes?
Alright, hold on. I just want to say something. This isn't bullshit, right? I was in Waterloo Station the other day, and which is the assistant in Doctor Who? The hot one with the brown hair, not the ginge. Like
probably Jenna Coleman.
Jenna, yeah, the one that's in Victoria and all that. Yeah, I was in Pret in Waterloo, and she came in. She had big sunglasses on and stuff, so like she was trying to be like covert, but she sort of pushed them up as she was browsing the sandwiches, and I was so close to saying greetings from across the grand spectrum of time, and the whole sort of channel intro to it, and like filming it on my phone for you, but there was someone from work with me, so I couldn't
do that. If anyone ever does that, that will not be sweet fan thing. That will be I need to go and move to America, to Mexico, change my name to Pedro Gonzalez, and learn to speak Spanish pretty darn quick.
Why?
No. Oh,
Well, it'd
no
just be a
one
laugh.
could
She's
ever
not going to know
find...
what it is.
No, doesn't matter. Awkwardness. The reason
I
I
don't think it's awkward. I think
the reason I had
think
to
it's
give
funny.
up on Choice World was because essentially that was a story that was original, accidentally became a fanfic, and then essentially it crossed the point of Uncanny Valley where I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. So
to be honest, like, I was kind of being pretty stupid. I should have just said listen, just go on this YouTube channel and check it out. I don't know why I was being like lame about it at the time because I was this work person there, but I don't know why I was sort of insecure about it.
So back to points at hand.
Yeah. Okay. Did you want to go back to talking about the fiction?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I've read Fuzzy Logic, and there's quite an extreme passage in that where there's a sort of hotel room. I'm trying to just like phrase it in a way that.
Oh, I think that might have been the closest that there was to a sex scene before.
Yeah, that's what so that's what I wanted to go, because like that was a definitive sex scene from what I could see, and it ended.
But it was a definitive interrupted.
Yes. But I mean, so I have a question about this, and I don't know if it's a plot hole or what, but so he takes great pain to sort of dispose of the body. He puts toothpicks in the stomach, right? If I remember, to make it flush down the toilet. He dries off stuff in the bath.
Process. Yeah.
And then he leaves it hanging in the wardrobe, right? If I can remember. Like,
it's been a while since I've.
Yeah. I don't expect you to like remember it off the bat, but I just remember like, so the character leaves straight after that and puts a thing on the door saying "Do not disturb," and I thought that was a bit of sloppy writing, I have to say, because that's going to be found, isn't it? That scene is going to be found at some point by any cleaner or.
Well, yeah, the whole thing is of like, if that happens, what the fuck are they going to do? Like,
what if they find her in the cupboard?
At that point, the Farshnook has awoken, right? At that point, he now knows who the hell he is, and he is going to confront, essentially, the bigger bad. Like, the Farshnook, by this point, he's starting to kind of become a little omniscient in the sense that he's starting to remember things across the multiverse, because essentially the war with the Septagonoids is heating up. So therefore, he's doing a procedure, and then it's more just a little joke of, well, nobody will bother to check, and if they do, fuck it, he's a Farshnook. And besides, he literally just goes right down the hall, I think.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
So it's not like...
I just thought it was quite funny that he took great pains to, dispose of some things and be considerate.
Yeah, it's almost like that was a deliberate joke.
Right. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to this temporal Cold War thing again, because
it's not temporal Cold War.
How you develop? Oh, sorry. This
that's Enterprise.
Star Trek, isn't it? Yeah.
Come
what
on.
was it? Cold War, new Cold War thing. What did you say it was called?
It's the new Cold War.
I mean, what's the figure fighting this Trump figure? Is it the Farshnook?
Well, in fairness, that's kind of what you're talking about there is the new ongoing thing. It's in the sense of where the Septagonoids was a long ongoing presence. This is going to be the new ongoing thing. And so, this isn't just a simple case of plotting out stuff. Like, the thing about the Septagonoids was they were simple but hard to kill. So the conflict was around the interpersonal relations of how to fight the massive hordes, right? It's almost in the sense that a zombie story, the zombies aren't interesting. They're interesting because of what they make society do. Whereas with the new Cold War arc, this is a case where the Farshnuk is actually working against an enemy who is powerful, and he's trying to do it subtly because this is the nature of politics. You can't just the Farshnuk couldn't just turn up and say, "Well, I'm the Farshnuk, so rah, I'm gonna stab you in the face," right? Like, because the moment he does that, then all of these followers, all of this momentum that's been building explodes and erupts. It's kind of, how the hell does the Farshnuk defuse a building political bomb of tensions in a populace that are being shepherded and escalated and used by a very selfish and callous individual? I don't think Trump is anywhere near that smart enough to be such an individual, but I do think that that's a threat that is being faced by the Farshnuk in the new Cold War arc. But that's only one small part of it.
Is the Raspberry character's sort of path to power similar to Trump's? Is there a Clinton figure which he overcame, or?
To be honest, that really isn't super. That isn't relevant at the moment, right? Like,
right.
There are other things going on. Like, there is the fact that it's more the new Cold War arc is the Farshnuk stepping back into the shadows and saying, "Hey, I've left the world to fend for themselves, and something bad has, like, things have escalated to the point where things are really bad." And so, as he's he's come back from the dead, he's stepping into the shadows to deal with stuff within the universes, and as he's doing that, the women are stepping out to take care of the multiverse in his stead. And that's where things like Where Self-Dawning come in. And that's why kind of, in a way, this story fits into this as almost like the middle beat between the end of the Great Septagonoid Wars and the beginnings of a new era, because you are seeing a lot of the key players who will become important in the new era, and at the same time you are seeing the setting up of the fact that this isn't a Farshnuk who is going to run off as soon as he gets a whiff of what logic is and decides to travel the multiverse. This is a Farshnuk who wants to stay at home. He wants to sort shit out.
So is there not? Are you saying goodbye to Lucy?
Oh no! Absolutely not. Big plans happening for Where Self-Dawning.
Oh, okay. I've got a question about. So, at what point do we sort of jump into this Cold War? How far is this Trump Raspberry figure into his presidency? Because he seems well established from the sounds of it. Sort of in the Farshnuk's presence, he's rose quite quickly or quite slowly, or.
Well, it's the nature of political figures that even if they seem to have risen quickly, they've actually been there a long time working in the background. So it doesn't fundamentally matter. It's not like he, stepped out of a parallel universe and said, "Hello, I'm here." We aren't talking the Master in series 3 of Doctor Who.
Right.
I can't believe Russell T Davies actually did that. But no, we aren't talking anything like that. What we are talking about is, in many ways, things that have been happening in our world, except
just parallel,
amplified through the fact that there genuinely are things like weresharks and sylphs and logicios, and like there is genuinely a fascist jackboot out there in the multiverse that will
a fascist jackboot.
Kidnap.
This is Raspberry, right?
No, that's the logicios, right? Like, that's the whole thing, is that everything that we are is through incompetence and personal aspiration or attempts at higher goals, right? That's why our world has the success and failings that it has. Whereas kind of the nature of the multiverse is that because there were these elder gods, there is this dangerous level of competence. And so in a universe where there is genuinely this fascistic force that will kidnap people, that will put them into slavery, that will brainwash them and make them enjoy it. When you've got, when you essentially have someone playing Napoleon, expanding the true liberal united civilizations of the multiverse by essentially selling people as toys in order to fund war fleets to take over universes.
So that's the economy of this society, is it?
Well, that's what it was.
Right.
In order to get the war effort going, like in order to fight the septagonoids, who are essentially pure logic, spontaneously generated within a logical enough multiverse, the only way that it's like building swarms of zombies. At a certain point, you'd need to do whatever it takes to take them down. Yeah, and so it's war has made people callous, and the ending of the Great Septagonoid War kind of sweeps the slate clean, but it's like that leaves a ripple, that leaves an effect, because as everybody else was building essentially war empires in order to fight off the septagonoids, fascism was allowed to creep in and accelerate, because there was genuine fascism in the name of the greater good, because hey, if the multiverse goes down, we're all fucked, even if we're dead, because we will literally have ceased to have ever existed.
Yeah.
And so, because there is this legitimate thing, this legitimate menace that is out there, it makes people like Trump, like Theresa May, like all these filthy politicians who.
Theresa May.
Theresa May's all right.
I think she's been okay. She's not been hardline on anything really.
She's a fucking Tory, and people have died under her.
Okay, all right.
Who's died under her?
I can show you the stats later, but you won't believe them, so it doesn't fucking matter, does it?
But I mean, my point that I'll make is just. My point that I'll make is just that I don't think Theresa May is anywhere near Trump.
I think that Trump is playing to his crowd, whereas Theresa May is kind of doing the opposite, in that she's letting Labour tear themselves apart and looking the better because, well, look, we're nice and quiet and the ship's continuing to sail and we're not going to worry about Brexit for a long time. But no, this is the woman who said that she didn't like human rights and she wanted to rewrite them. She is a despicable, dangerous woman, and far more dangerous than Donald Trump, in my opinion, because Donald Trump is the danger we know about going in. Theresa May was unelected and is already in power and is going to rewrite our human rights. That's a damn sight more dangerous than a bigot the entire world knows is a bigot.
Well, let's talk about
who actually is probably just playing up.
Let's talk about Jeremy Corbyn.
She didn't say that though. That's just a lie. She didn't say she didn't like human rights.
No, that is literally her fucking government policy.
She never said she didn't like human rights. That's ridiculous.
She's literally rewriting them. Like, if she didn't say she disliked them, then why the fuck is she rewriting them?
She's never declared that she doesn't like human rights. She doesn't like the European Union rules on human rights.
You are being pedantic about the fact that...
That's not pedantic. That's not pedantic. That's fundamentally important.
I mean, guys, calm down. It's all what do you call it? It's a replacement to Bill of Rights.
Alex, are you willing to talk about the fiction still, or have you gone?
Well, you do seem to keep drawing the fiction back to politics.
Look, I hope you realise that wasn't me speaking.
No, but it was you saying, and what about the Cold War arc? What about the Cold War arc?
No, I was just genuinely interested in the Cold War arc.
I was
I'll have to
just
talk about other things as well.
I've got a genuine question about the fiction.
Okay.
Well, actually, it's about the fiction in today's video. Like, you know, you were talking about the Shrinking Woman comic.
Yes.
You said it was like a classic, and in your eyes, it's like a classic of the genre, right?
At least that's what I am. Well, to be honest, when I used I wasn't necessarily using classic in the terms of like Shakespeare is classic in literature. I'm not enough of aware of the scene, ironically enough. But from what I know of it, I would say that's a decent enough comparison.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's something you appreciate it as a work. You think it's influenced you a lot. But when you were talking about it, you were saying that it was like nitro fuel for like erotic nitro fuel. That's I think what you said or something. Like you got off on it a lot. So do you think if someone had that reaction to your work, like someone was reading the erotic elements of your work and they were getting really turned on, that would be sort of like mission accomplished for you? Like you would have achieved the same heights as the Shrinking Woman comic?
Well, no, because to be honest, I'm trying to do a dance site more than turn people on.
Right.
I mean, in many ways, I am.
It's part of it, though.
It is a part of it, but that's more because to me, I need to give a shit about characters in order to really, in order to have that, in order to have the porn matter, basically. So I need the plot. I need the characters to have arcs and to matter to people. But no, it's certainly like I'm not just trying to write porn. No, like that is a thing that might be happening, but it sort of, I suppose it depends on your definition. Your mileage may vary.
Okay, cool. I've got another question as well, if you want. If that's all right.
So long as it doesn't descend into more politics, that's fine.
No, it's to do with writing. You know, the sort of idea that if you were to remove, so like genre works, like something like Star Trek or something, there's this concept that if you were to get rid of all the trappings of genre, like the trappings of sci-fi, Star Trek would still have engaging storylines, and that's like a mark of a good work. So like a good benchmark of good genre fiction is that if you remove the genre elements, it would still be a good story. Like let's say you took Blade Runner out of the sci-fi setting or something, you know, you would still, the characters' interactions would all still be touched, right? Do you think that would be an interesting exercise for you to do with your work? Like take all elements of sci-fi, or all the sort of world-building elements out of it and just write the characters, see what it's like?
I mean, I suppose think I've done things like that in the past, but it's like I write for many different reasons, and in a sense, like the nature of writing is that there are different moods that you go through, and it can't just be the same tempo all the fucking time. Like I could, I suppose, write a kitchen sink romance or something, but it's.
I don't mean do a new thing. I mean just do as a writing experiment. You know what I mean? To sort of get a compass on yourself as an author. Just write your story. Like let's say write Where Sylph Dawning, but without any elements of sylphs, without any elements of sci-fi stuff, no kind of tech, no kind of like all the genetic kind of concept stuff, and just write the characters and just see what it comes out like.
I mean, well, I suppose, ironically, well, no. I suppose this is. I was going to say, I suppose that's what the shrinking is, but no, the shrinking is basically the opposite. In that the shrinking is all the characters and and interpersonal relationships. Let's strip that back and focus on the exposition and the tropes, because it needed to be short. It's an interesting idea, but certainly I'm not on a rush to distract myself ever more from West of Dawn.
Alex, a couple of nights ago, we linked you that thing we'd made, the sort of radio play. Did you listen to it?
Okay, something that I cannot see what is put onto the Life Raft of the Damned timeline, because unless I am literally logged into it, I can't see the back post. So unless it is literally like message me.
All right. Well, someone posted in the thing in Life Raft. Yeah, it was like an audio trailer of like the Green Nothing Productions thing, because I think you'd sent someone a script, hadn't you? And we'd sort of done like a little mock-up trailer. I thought it was pretty impressive. Has anyone got it?
Green Eyed Nothing is not going to become... Green Eyed Nothing is not going to be coming out, so yeah. Certainly not for a long time, because Green Eyed Nothing was written in a very different time, and it would require writing the Farshnook as a complete bastard unapologetically in order to make it work.
Right.
And I can't do that anymore, because that just isn't the kind of guy I am anymore.
Okay, all right. Sort of a couple of questions about Where Self Dawning. Is this your best work? Your magnum opus?
Well, it might be a bit early to say magnum opus.
It's certainly long.
I think magnum opus is something other people decide once you're dead. This is certainly the Dreadnought class of stories. This is the trying to do something new based on everything else that's gone before. Like, this could be the best thing I've ever done.
Right.
Or it could just be an incredibly monotonous retread.
Will it be completed before Christmas, do you think?
Oh, fuck no.
No? What's your sort of deadline you've got in your mind? Just sort of
there is none. It's done when it's done. It's done when it is done. End of.
I mean, it surely must have some sort of... You must be thinking about some sort of ending in your mind.
I have got things and I planned out for how it will end, but it is done when it is done. And what I am fast discovering is that I have no understanding of how long it takes to get to a particular place, in that things I think will take a long time don't, and things that I think will be incredibly short take a long time, because essentially characters need to reflect on shit that has happened, and then that puts them into new places and blah blah blah. And
in many ways, Alex, that's a lot like George R.R. Martin. I've watched interviews with him because he's still trying to finish the Winds of Winterberg, isn't he? And the television series has overtaken him. I think that's a process you sort of share with him, the procrastination almost.
You've seen the regular tweets of, like, 2,000 words written today, blah blah blah, like the fact that it's at 71,000 words, right? Like, the fact that I said, okay, I need to take some time off because I'm finally at a point in the story where I could take some time off, and my brain goes, okay, now you must spend 23,000. You must write 23,000 words on a different story. Hey, like, my problem isn't procrastination. My problem is this story is being written.
But no, it's the same with George R. R. Martin. He's still writing, isn't he? But there's so much of the work in his mind that he needs to get realised on paper that he's not meeting his deadlines, is he?
Yeah,
I don't know if you're
I
familiar with
don't
George R. R.
have
Martin or not.
deadlines. Nobody's fucking paying me for this. I make so much less money off this than I do off any of my videos. So yeah, I'm doing this for me. It'll be done when it's done. There is no deadline. End of.
There's been a link posted in LifeRaft by Homegrown Jahanic Terrorist. He's posted the sort of audio trailer. It's about a minute long. I'll give you some time to listen to it. I think it's quite well done, personally. You see it?
I will listen to that later, maybe.
I mean, I'd listen to it now because I'd like to talk about it. Just sort of.
Well,
where you can
it's
sort of-
precisely because
only a
we want to
minute.
talk about it that I would not like to talk about it.
Okay, all right. Well, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. You want some time to
Yeah.
reflect.
Come on, don't be a
well,
sourpuss.
no, it's
Someone's put loads of effort into that.
right. Okay, and I'm sure that people put a lot of effort into fucking with me as well. I'm not. I just don't want to.
Mate, it's a
Like-
1 minute long audio clip. Like, I'm sure you'll be
Okay,
fine.
you
I'm
can watch it
happy
when he
to
wants
move
to
on
watch it.
if he wants to move on. I'm happy to move on.
Alex, what would you like to talk about?
Yeah, sorry, 'cause it's been relentless questions. I mean, I haven't asked you what you actually want to talk about. Sorry, Alex.
I mean, basically, I've spent the last 2 days just lost in this mad writing stupor, and now, it's. I mean, it is good to talk about the fiction in the sense that it's nice to sort of cool down and sort of defragment my brain after the insanity of just what I undertook. But
Yeah.
it's also just like, okay, I have been off the grid for 3 days suddenly because I had to get this thing done, and so I saw people were freaking out, and so I came on here to sort of like be, yes, I'm not dead.
When you came back on here, I think you were a bit tipsy, were you?
I think actually it was the being tipsy that sort of started it, because that was when that was the organize my desktop icons, and then it's like, oh well, I'll just have a check through and see if I can find out this old comic, and then I read the old comic, and
So by organising like your desktop, I mean, have you organised like the sort of job search, the writing, the situation you're in, or has it just been the desktop for now?
I mean, the job search and the writing are not things that are organised; they are things that are done. Right?
They're a constant, aren't they, in the background? I mean, you've called it a constant cacophony before, haven't you?
No, that the cacophony is something else.
Right.
The cacophony is
died
my
down?
self-loathing.
But has that stopped or gotten better or eased up?
The cacophony will never stop. That's the nature of my life and existence. But no.
How's the job search going?
Jobs are applied for. Nobody gives a shit. Like, I apply for so many fucking jobs. That's the thing. People always say, just get a job. If only it was that easy.
Have you had your CV checked by anyone professional? I mean, I did it, and it worked off quite well. I mean, I was getting more interview offers and stuff like that. I mean, it'll cost you a fee, but I think it's worth the investment.
Yeah, well,
Someone in here would probably do it for free, to be fair.
I think we should get off this subject now because, yeah, it's kind of, suffice to say, when you've been unemployed for a year and a bit, and you've been, dealing with a fuckload of depression and all kinds of other bullshit, you don't necessarily need to focus on on the money side of things.
No. I mean, I personally sort of suggest you went back into your sort of creative degree bubble that you were in, because I think that was because you could do a master's quite easily. Did you get a 2-1?
Yeah. But I also, that would mean more debt, and it's not worth it.
But it's not debt you're going to
I
pay
actually
instantly, is it?
agree with you, Alex. Not Adam. There, I think going back into a total creative bubble is like, even for a creative person, it's negative. You know what I mean? It's just helping depression. Like, you need money, you need like to be doing something, you need like some way forward, and it'll help your writing as well.
I don't know. I just see it as a way out personally, because I mean, uni is always going to be there.
It's more debt is fucked though. Do you know what I mean? It's such a load of depression on you. You can't be creative if you're negged out all the time.
But do you often think about your debt, Alex? I mean, it's just a standard student debt, right? You only did 3 years, was it? It's not like 5
I
years.
think we don't need to be talking about our student debt, because I don't think that you need to be talking about that. So we're not going to be talking about that. Changing the subject, because frankly, why the fuck does it matter to you about the student bloody debt, right? Like, yes, I talk about politics. Fair enough. We disagree. It's a problem that we get into arguments, and so we should avoid that. But I can understand why you give a shit about that, because that is what I do creatively. Writing, yeah, that's what I do creatively. How the fuck does my ability to get to a job, not get a job, my debt have anything to do with you? Answer.
It's interesting,
how
isn't it? It's unusual.
concerned are you? I'm sorry, I didn't realise that it meant I had to give a shit. You're concerned. Okay, duly noted. Duly noted. Don't care.
It's not concern, it's just unusual, isn't it?
Alex, I've noticed, I've just gone and checked on your YouTube channel. You've lost, I mean, did you get 2,000 subs? Because you made the video, didn't you?
I said I predicted that it would happen, and I deliberately delayed the 2000 Ask Me Anything video, waiting to see if something would happen, and it stabilized around 2040 just for the video, and then so far about 50 subscribers have left.
Yeah, I've
Although
noticed there's been a definite drop, hasn't it? I mean, I know your channel sort of peaked when you were mentioned on, certain right-wing podcasts, but I think that's died down now, hasn't it? Have you noticed less attention or more attention, or what do you think?
Yes, yeah, I have, and frankly, I'm bloody glad of it. I want them to forget me. I want you to forget me. I want.
Like the revenue.
It is nice to live, but it's not earning enough to justify it, right? Like, it's the only way I would possibly be able to make enough money to potentially justify continuing to make those kinds of videos would be if I was attracting exactly the sorts of people who would harm my family, who would do things that I can't allow to happen.
But have you thought about moving away from sort of the political videos and reviving the anti-critic and doing some media reviews?
Well, that's why I've been wanting to take the fucking break, and that is why I've been talking about the D&D stuff, and that is, yeah, I want people to get bored. I want them to go away.
Well, I think the anti-critic will pull in an audience, a certainly wider audience than politics. Like,
I mean, the anti-critic is dead because Gordon Jones is dead. The anti-critic is only a thing in the sense that...
But like a critical character.
No, I don't do characters anymore.
Okay. But so, I mean, if you were to review something tomorrow, if you had the resources to sort of script something, review it, edit it, what would you choose?
I wouldn't be scripting it, reviewing it, or editing it at all. You've seen my videos. You know I don't do that.
But I just, my question was, like, what would your next thing be? What's the burning thing you want to review, to talk about, of media, piece of media, film?
Well,
TV,
I have been saying for some time now that I need to get around to watching Farscape: The Peacekeeper Wars.
That's the final series, is it?
It's the tie-up. It's not the final series, it's the final mini-series because they couldn't make the final series.
It's just like the end of Deep Space Nine, basically.
Well, what stopped you from watching it as it's only a miniseries? Is it because you don't want it to end?
Because firstly, I didn't have it to begin with, and then because I have this miniseries now thanks to my ex, and so yeah, emotions are things that they do mess with you, and they do alter what you decide to do. And so, yeah, and apart from anything else, I might want to do that more, but it's doing a review requires a certain kind of mindset because it's a passive act. Watching any kind of TV show or whatever it is, it's a passive act, and at the same time you have to be critical on watching it from a certain kind of perspective. It's not like I can relax with it.
Earlier on today, I watched a video where you'd watched A Fistful of Dollars, and I think you'd watched it with your father, and it was a sort of trade-off because I think he'd watched a bit of Farscape or something. Anyway, the video was quite in-depth, and it was just you talking, really, about A Fistful of Dollars and how macho...
Yeah, and I can tell you for damn sure that was not something that I could... I mean, there will never be any more videos with my father. But...
Well, I mean, like films, though. I mean,
also, at the same time, like... I am doing stuff for the sake of my mental health, basically, right? I'm still fighting the battle to stay the fuck alive. And so, ultimately, if it's a choice between staying ahead of podcasts, which could teach me things, or listening to an audiobook, which again I could review at a certain point, and thus will allow me to properly relax through playing Skyrim or whatever. Like, I don't work in the sense that I think you guys all do and are incredibly frustrated that I don't, in the sense that I do what I need to do when I need to do it as I need to do it.
To survive, to stay alive.
Well, just in general, to be honest, like, that's my approach to all things. Like, if I'm gonna watch a piece of media, I'm gonna watch something that I know is in my wheelhouse and that I like. And this is why it genuinely perplexes the almighty fuck out of me why there might the fact that anyone could ever in any way, shape or form keep coming back to my videos if they dislike them, right? Trolls being trolls is stupid and dickish, but fair enough. That makes sense. The idea that someone would sort of hate watch doesn't make sense to me. If you don't like something, don't do it. If you're not in the mood for it, don't do it.
But I mean, do you never do anything you don't?
What? And this is where I can.
You hate UKIPers and the Tories. It's just the same thing, isn't it? Like, you get satisfaction out of hating UKIPers, so it's just a normal thing for people to do, isn't it? Like, when they don't like.
No, I don't. That's completely like no. Okay, what? I don't get satisfaction out of hating UKIPers. I haven't bloody given a shit about UKIPers in a fucking long time. You might have just watched that video. It's been a damn sight longer for me.
I watched it when it came out.
Right. And again, the point was not I hate UKIPers. It was me doing my I have to give you a fucking chance. I've got to give you the fucking benefit of the doubt. And kind of, in many ways, the reason I think that the fandom or whatever the fuck you call people who troll me has is seeing such a different side to me is that essentially they crossed the line where I can't give out the warnings anymore, which means that I do just have to say, no, fuck you, you're gone. And that's
fair play, isn't it? Do you remember that one where you said by ballot or by bullet, I'm going to defeat UKIP? Like ages ago. That's pretty crazy, isn't it? Because that's like advocating political murder, saying you're going to shoot someone.
Yeah, it'd almost be like if some guy who was running in the general election of America was to joke about having his opponent assassinated, or if someone who wrote for The Guardian was to make a joke about someone who was running in the leadership campaign getting assassinated. It would be so terrible if people in the mass media were to ever make some kind of political perspective that was in any way suggesting of harm to someone who could potentially rule the country. It's not as if there is an entire history of that being exactly how politics works.
No, I'm not saying it's terrible. I think it's ballsy. Like, if I was to say, like, I'm going to defeat Labour with bullets, I'm going to do, like, Joe Cox 2 or something on YouTube, I get sent to fucking prison. It's quite brave, do you know what I mean? That's all I'm saying.
I'm thinking that you're just... I'm not speaking to you
just been away,
anymore.
I've just been to the toilet. As if what's happened? I've just been to the toilet. What's happened?
We're talking about...
I'm not talking to that guy anymore. So what's happening is that
Why?
he
I think it was
he
your
listens
problem,
to me say, I'm just going to block fuckers anymore, not give them a chance. And what does he do? Say, oh, well, isn't it true that you made a video saying you were going to assassinate people? No.
Right.
No, I didn't say that at all. I said...
I think we should move on. I think we should definitely move on. I mean, I don't know any of this. I don't particularly care. I mean, are you comfortable
weird,
moving
dude.
on, Alex, or do you want to go?
Yeah, respect.
Are you all right to move on, Alex, or?
Yeah, you're definitely not good.
Are you all right to move on, Alex, or?
Yeah, definitely need to move on.
Yeah, I mean, I was at the toilet, so I didn't know. Have you been out and working recently? Have you been like doing some walking or?
Well, the last few days I haven't because I did
Writing.
because I had to get food. But the last few days I've been basically before the computer writing. So, yeah, writing and getting shit done, basically.
I think my mic isn't working properly. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah,
I can hear you fine, I think.
Right, okay. Well, I want to go back to the fiction, because I think this is what the good theme of this, the core theme of like this conversation has been about the fiction, hasn't it?
Certainly, fiction is the one area that I can generally be more convinced to talk about because I am quite vain when it comes to the fiction because the fiction is the stuff I actually put effort into.
I have a question. I mean, I often notice that most of your characters, they don't necessarily die. They reincarnate or they reassemble in some form. I mean, in terms of death, would you ever write a death? A lasting death?
And
does death scare you in that way, or do you embrace it?
Well, the thing is, when you've got a multiverse and you so regularly deal with like yes, I could write a story that was about a set of characters, make someone important, kill them off, and then just never set any kind of story that happens to feature a parallel universe version of them again. But
Yeah.
the nature of the multiverse is that if there was ever a point when a character was inside a universe, then if they die, then there will be a universe where they live.
So death isn't really a lasting thing, is it?
Not in the multiverse. No, I mean in many ways, like the MST3K mantra applies in the sense that if you really think about the multiverse for far too long, then nihilism sets in, as it's like, well, every victory is nullified by losses, and every loss is nullified by victories. And this is why essentially time travel doesn't happen very often, because time traveling to the past basically means you'll never see that universe again, because of the whole San Dimas time situation.
If there were a collapse of the multiverse and there were only just one universe left, I mean, would you ever write that? I'm sorry if that's like an overwhelming question, but I think it would be quite interesting.
Okay, I'm about to say something that
go ahead.
is possibly more insane. The multiverse is a setting for a work of fiction. It is also, elder gods and mad sylphs and whatever aside, my personal, until proven otherwise, best guess, theory and belief as to what is outside the universe.
Oh, so it's your own philosophy, is it?
Philosophy is too fucking fine a point, but certainly, like, the whole central idea that the logic that explains the multiverse and the logic that explains the nothingness and sort of justifies how there can be something outside the universe, and how essentially the universes are bubbles of logic dividing all that stuff. The reason that so much thought has been put into that is because I do sort of think that until science says otherwise, that's a reasonably good guesstimation for how this works. And I also do think that if you are going to have any kind of multiverse, then it is not completely outside the realms of possibility, that therefore some sort of key stream could be in effect, whereby what is fiction in one universe would be reality in another. So therefore, I would be a little hesitant about writing any grand reality-destroying stories, just in case.
Well, as a question, you sort of say what is fiction in one universe might be reality in another. Would you certainly say that your fiction is real in another world, in a real life universe? Like the stuff you write, the
No, I wouldn't say it is real. I would say that there is
a possibility.
I would say that it is a logically sound assumption that within a large enough multiverse, there might be a reality that happened to bear startling similarities to fiction. That is not the same thing.
So the Farshnook could have like gone to school, secondary school, like realistically, in another universe. A Farshnook parallel to yourself or something.
Well, you say that and it's sort of, well, and a god am I. Well, no, the whole thing is that it extends so far as, there is a universe where on a certain day I ate Jello. And on that day, yeah, all the atoms in that person's body teleported to Pluto, right? The nature of the multiverse, of any kind of multiverse, regardless of whether it's the nothingness multiverse, regardless of whether it's hyperinflationary or whatever the fuck you're talking about, the nature of it is that if you have a large enough set of universes, patterns are going to occur, and you are going to encounter similarities. I mean, for God's sake, we see this on the internet in terms of like, all these people who've never met realize that they're basically twins. Like, in a large enough sample size, coincidences occur. That's essentially what I'm saying here. I'm not saying the Farshaluk is real. I'm saying in a large enough sample size, coincidences.
It's a possibility.
Well, infinite sample size is definitely real. That's like the monkey on the typewriter sort of theory, isn't it?
I thought I said I wasn't going to talk to you.
Alex.
So I'm just talking to the room. I mean, you can talk to me or not. It's your choice.
Alex, just on this sort of multiverse theory thing, where did you come across this? I mean, did you develop it at uni? Did you?
I developed.
At school?
It's got a lot of. This essentially is thinking logically based on understandings of, quantum mechanics and stuff like that, looking at essentially the dulcet idea, the fact that there is a certain amount of physical evidence or circumstantial evidence, shall we say, that there is a multiverse out there, or that there could be, that it is a logical enough thing to assume. And so it is more thinking logically that results in the central theory of how the multiverse works in terms of logic bubbles having been created as sort of proto-physics, getting better and better over time, so that logic bubbles divide. That is something that I'm willing to consider a sort of pet scientific theory until science marches along and proves otherwise.
Well,
the other shit, no.
Reason. I mean, because if you look at, I think it was Sweden, they voted against UBI, didn't they? But I certainly believe that there might have been another, parallel universe where they actually voted for UBI. Are you aware of this? It may be Switzerland.
That is the if you are someone who believes in the multiverse, yes, things that could have happened would have happened. Like it's that's basic level multiverse stuff to say. Oh well, the Nazis could have won World War II.
Right.
It's quite another thing to then say. Like, I mean, I take this to the logical extreme of saying, well, therefore all gods are real because I happen to think all gods are fiction, and so if all fiction is real somewhere, all gods are real, all religions are true.
Well, that's quite a
just depends on the multiverse you have.
That's quite a paradox, because you are an anti-theist, you are an atheist, right?
I legitimately don't like God.
But by sort of believing in the evidence of the multiverse, then you are sort of contradicting that. I think that's quite interesting.
Well, it's very Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I refuse. God says, I refuse to prove that I exist, for proof denies faith, and without faith I am nothing. But the table fish is a dead giveaway, isn't it? It proves you exist, and so therefore you don't. QED.
So would you say that you're more of an agnostic then, if you were to really consider that?
I mean, essentially, I am anti-theist. Okay, it is not that I don't think God exists. It's that
you hate the structures of religion.
I don't think that religion is a good thing for us to have in the modern day. I don't think we need it anymore. It might have been good in the past, but you know what? Expressing an opinion about the present does not magically change the past. So
no, that's right. That is right. I don't particularly want to go deep into religion because I think it'll cause up some sort of taboo topics. But I certainly think we are enriched by sort of Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism. I think we are enriched by religion.
Yeah.
I do think that there is a thing with organised religion that needs to be curbed, but I don't think...
certainly look at what the bloody Republican Party is doing because of organised religion. You look at fuckers who are saying, oh, gay people are causing floods. And
what religion is the Republican Party? Which strand of Christianity? I can't remember.
how do I know what particular fucking strand of Christianity? I don't think they know, because I think if they actually had a strand of Christianity that they followed, they might actually have listened when Christ said, a rich man can only go through heaven if he can pass through the eye of the needle on the back of a camel, or whatever.
Right.
That was mainly a Protestant Christian, so that would probably be what the Republican Party is from, although they are obviously more religious than British.
Would you consider us a Christian country, England? Would you say it was still a Christian
Well,
country?
we are technically a monarchical theocracy.
Right. But it's not really excised, is it? We don't have to pray. We don't have to pay to the church or anything like that.
We don't have to pledge in allegiance. And... yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I didn't know that. Because I see England as very multicultural, very, and I think that's a really good thing. And I certainly wouldn't take anyone's religion from. I don't know. It's a difficult topic. I don't really want to go into it. I certainly want.
My perspective is you don't take religion from people. You let them educate themselves out of it, because history shows you can't take religion away from people, because the more you try to take it from them, the more they go, oh, well, I must, clearly my religion is in the right and I must protect it and die for it, and bad things happen.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
so sort of Salem witch trials, you know what I mean? That was all Christianity burning witches, wasn't it? Like people believed to be witches.
I mean, the nature of Christianity in the first place, the entire sort of story of how, of Christ and how he sacrificed himself was that the bloody Romans were like, okay, these fucking Christians and their bloody monotheism getting all in our shit, causing all this bloody strife. Right, we're gonna kill you all. Oh dear, we've founded Christianity. Fuck.
But would you say that your constructive morality, which you've augmented, which you've hybridized, would you say that is your religion, your worldview, your philosophy?
Not religion, no.
No, but worldview.
There are different parts that make up a person's point of view perspective. A religion is the whole kit and caboodle. A religion is morality, philosophy, outlooks, paths. It is everything, right? That's the nature of the religion. That's why it is so dangerous and cultish. Whereas, essentially, being an atheist, I get to pick and choose what makes sense to me. I don't have to go with everything my good book says that I should. Even if your good book has been around so long that essentially you might as well pick and choose, because there are so many different versions that counteract every other version.
No, I understand what you're saying. You've got a sort of pick and mix philosophy, and it works for you. It works. It helps you. It helps you understand the world. It certainly enhances your fiction, I think.
Well, yeah, I suppose there is an element to where a certain perspective on my suffering, well, that's melodramatic, but a certain perspective on my life is to say, well, it all helped create the very particular forge necessary in order to write the fiction that I write. That if I didn't have my exact perspective on morality, if I didn't have my exact kind of political leanings, if I didn't have my exact kind of medical fuck-uppedness and all this stuff, all dominoes falling in exactly the right way, I wouldn't have created this the way that it is. Whether that's good or bad is another matter, but
Can I ask you a question? It's going to go back to the writing, but what are your sort of main areas to improve on in the writing? What bugs you when you see?
Hey, Alex, you know at the end of Farscape Peacekeeper Wars where Crichton dies from shutting down the wormhole, and then is revived by his son with Aaron. Do you think that was a messianic analogy?
Hey, do you know how I said I wasn't going to watch it? Yeah, and I hadn't watched it. Fuck you.
Oh, sorry.
So as you were saying about sort of the writing.
Yeah, I mean, each writer has something they want to improve on, don't they? I mean, what are your sort of areas of?
It's the description. It's honestly that the description is.
How so? How so?
I'm shit at it. I don't do it.
I don't know. You're quite comprehensive. So you sort of you describe the woman's in this latest fiction. You describe her occupation. You describe her skin color, Caucasian. You describe her hair color.
Yeah, I mean, I
what they
this
wear.
This is kind of why I'm writing so much gory stuff. Is that I am very utilitarian. I describe what needs to be described, and so if I need to practice describing things, I need to write a lot of fiction where there is a lot of utilitarian need to description so that I can improve my skills at description. That's essentially why I keep writing so much stuff like this.
But would the description lengthen the work, do you think, or do you think you'd combine some of the dialogue with the description? So would you show, not tell?
I mean, well, as I learned from the whole issue with the Laura K. Buzz sort of fanfic thing, is that if I do try to even do something as simple as show the context for a thing,
right,
then people are just going to miss it because they're looking for the one bit that will annoy them. And that's kind of the
I'll just quickly
issue.
just ask about this, actually. Because in your video, you sort of mentioned about how I think you'd rejoin this group of people and then you'd gone from it. I mean, are you okay with that now? I mean, did that distress you at all? Just yes or no. I don't particularly want you to go into detail.
It's okay. I tried. I failed.
But that work wasn't thrown back in your face, was it?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
All right.
The essential thing is that like there is a dichotomy within me in a sense that like I want to assume I want to be pretentious, right? I want to have all these grand myth arcs and plot arcs, and I want to do foreshadowing, and I want to have allusions and metaphor, and at the same time,
you want it to be pulp.
Well, it's not that I want it to be pulp, because I can do that and all the other stuff. It's that I want it to be understood and for people to not rage because they didn't understand it. Right? It is a problem that I am aware of in works that I like, that essentially if people aren't paying attention, then they miss things and they don't like it so much. And
I mean, you took a creative writing course at university. I mean, what sort of techniques did that teach you? I'm quite interested because that was a professional course, wasn't it?
Yes, it was a 3-year-long professional course. I cannot summarize that right now.
No, but like, what did you carry away? What was the main thing you carried away from it? Like, in terms of how
the main thing that I carried away from it is to, firstly, write as long as it takes to get you there.
Oh, okay. So that's what's influenced Where Self Dawning, hasn't it?
Well, I mean, that's actually why consistently, like the things I write have been getting longer and longer and longer. To like, it started out as distraction fix. This is just a short story that I need to get out because I'm distracted. And then it got longer, and then you had Contravoxi Survivor, and then Fuzzy Logic.
Yeah.
It keeps it, but I mean that's.
Well, Fuzzy Logic was longer than Contravoxi, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
I mean, so sort of like in terms of like distractions. I mean, what's your bucket list? What do you want to accomplish before the end comes? I mean, what's on?
I don't really go in for that.
Be published, or?
I don't go into the idea of bucket lists.
But you must have some sort of goal. You know what I mean? You want to know where the writing is going, perhaps.
I mean, the bucket list is sort of the bucket list as a concept. I'm just going to briefly sort of brush past this. I don't like it because it essentially says once I've done this, I can die, which isn't a good thing to be to have.
So that's why
who struggles with depression.
That's why, on a sort of micro level, you've kept away peacekeeper wars, haven't you? So certain things don't become completed. So certain things aren't expected to be.
Yeah, there is a certain level of I want to establish a new normal before I tidy up the past.
Right. Okay. So in some of your most recent videos, you do talk about becoming about becoming someone other, because you sort of transformed from being Gordon Jones to being Alexander Gordon Jahans and accepting that. What do you think you're going to become next?
Well, there is one big name change that's going to happen probably, which is that my parents are getting divorced. So
you'll no longer be a Jahans, or?
I mean, that's a very, very probable thing. Also, I took this name up as a promise that I wouldn't kill myself.
What, Alexander Gordon Jahans? Is that not your birth name?
Well, okay. There's this whole thing. There are many blogs. I've written blogs talking about this in the past. Basically, right? Yes. Alexander Gordon Jahans is my real name, but the reason I took it up again was because I needed to essentially remind myself that I had survived the hell of school, and that I wasn't gonna give in, I wasn't gonna lash out, I wasn't going to be violent, I wasn't going to hurt myself. And it was a case of reminding myself that I could do this, that I could make it through it. And so now that I'm kind of
entering a new phase,
I need to focus on getting out of this as opposed to just surviving this. But that is going to take time.
I mean, so will you choose a name from sort of your ancestry, or will you choose a name?
I'm not sure I'm gonna be saying anything about that. It's entirely.
No, I was just interested.
I mean, it's entirely possible that it might be that I decide to stick with being called by Gordon Jones as far as decide to stick with being called Alexander Gordon Jahans as far as the channel goes and stuff like that.
Will you continue the channel with this new name, new identity?
I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah, because it's been quite volatile, hasn't it? I mean, you have sort of spoke about disabling the likes, disabling the comments, maybe deleting videos or privatizing videos. I mean, is that a threat or is that a genuine thing that's crossed your mind?
Do you watch your dad's YouTube channel, or do you just ignore all that stuff?
Do you
when
want
he's like
to fuck
doing
off
character?
there, mate?
What? Sorry, I didn't catch that. What was the answer?
I don't talk about my family.
Oh yeah, sure. No, I was just wondering if you'd seen his channel though. Right, forget it. Don't worry about it. If you don't want to answer, it's fine.
Barry would be fucking kicked by now.
I watch his YouTube channel myself.
Are you willing to answer the question I've just asked, or?
I mean, I suppose, ironically, what that dickhead has just said illustrates the point. Yeah, things are shit. Things are shit because what has started out as people trolling me has extended beyond that. And yes, I have contemplated a fucking lot of things, but I think ultimately the best thing I can do is let people get bored.
because you've been running this channel now for about 10 years, haven't you? It's been quite a constant in your life. Is this the most volatile the fan base has ever been?
It's not that it's volatile. It's that it's uncertain. There has been times when things have been far more volatile and far more distressing, but I knew where I fucking stood. And so this way, in many ways, I am of the opinion and mood to just say, fuck it, you're all haters, I don't care what you say.
But there's a size of the fan base, which is, I think it's growing exponentially, isn't it? The fan base size, and it always will. And I think there's going to be splinters in this fan. There's going to be, because, I mean, we're talking about over 2,000 people here, aren't we?
No, we're talking about under 2,000 people.
Yeah, right.
But even so, that's quite a high number, isn't it? So there's going to be like splinter factions within that group. I mean, I do think you should just plug on, just carry on, plow on.
I mean, certainly that's the plan for now. But yeah, if essentially what I'm realizing is the writing matters far more to me than the YouTube, and the YouTube makes me more money, but not enough money. So it's
because you got your paycheck, right? I don't want you to go into any financial details. What did you spend the money on? Did you buy a new computer?
I haven't yet.
Oh, are you thinking about enhancing the YouTube channel? Like with maybe buying a computer, buying some sort of...
Well, that might be a long-term goal, but I am the short-term needs come first, basically.
Right.
Did you buy your new intro?
Yeah, I mean, that new intro is quite... where's that from? Did you make that?
That is due to one of my actual left-wing friends who decided to knock that up for me.
It's a lot better than the white one, I think, the septagonoid one. It's a lot more dynamic, isn't it? It certainly sets you off. I mean, especially when you open with the greetings, it certainly sets off.
Yeah, I think the thing is the white one was made sort of by a sort of friend of a friend on the basis of what I wanted, and I am crap at art. So
right.
I thought you did your own little things.
Essentially, someone deciding to create something word for word based on what I said, however competently, was always going to look worse compared to someone who actually had fucking vision as to what
I do have to say, Alex, the ending of your videos needs to be amended. You have Dark Souls now. I think you've been broken before the altar. You need a new call to action, I think. Have you noticed this?
Well, in fairness, I've got a Dark Souls.
Would you want more? Right.
Damn, this nigga don't quit.
I haven't been broken before the latest Dark Souls. But no, fair point, I do need to get around to it.
How did you find Dark Souls, by the way?
It's on Steam, wasn't it?
Well, yes, someone. I found it because someone gifted it to me.
Nice.
Yes, there was this period where things were really, really bad, and so to sort of make up for it, people were sending me lots and lots of stuff, and buying me lots of stuff on Steam, and it's like, wow, this is simultaneously really awesome, and also I have stalkers.
Right. Did you try and stream Dark Souls? I mean, would you like you did Skyrim? Would you try and stream it?
I did try and stream Dark Souls, and in fact, Dark Souls is the only thing I have tried to stream.
Did it run at a high frame rate? Was it working well?
5 frames per second.
So, can you repeat that? Sorry.
5 frames per second. 5.
Right. So I assume it was just like dog shit to play, was it?
There's no point in even playing it like that, really.
Itself refused to play. The game said we're gonna have to kick you off online mode because it is 5 frames per second and that is too low to play game.
Have you thought about doing any mods for Dark Souls? Have you thought about doing any mods for Dark Souls?
I mean, fundamentally, I can't play Dark Souls, and it's so fucking like to get a decent graphics card would be so much more money than I am ever likely to get for a fucking long time.
Have you seen the nude mods for it? Get any nude mods?
No, I am not. Moving on.
What I mean, so are you not going to update the call to action?
I mean, I am. It didn't occur to me.
Right.
That was me being facetious, but yeah.
I mean, what's the next thing on the wish list?
Well, I suppose the next one thing I do need to add to the wish list is point out that now people can indeed buy me care parcels.
Is this from Amazon? Right.
Yes, the Amazon wish list. And if people want to have stuff added to the wish list, they can message me on my Facebook fan page, and I will do my best to find it on Amazon, add it to the wish list so they can buy it there.
I do have a question about the wish list.
Johnny's.
It did perplex me a bit. I mean, the sort of army care packages, the survival kits. Is that a serious?
Well, no, because it's like the bloody bug roll's not a serious thing. This is what are things that people might.
Pretty serious if you run out of it.
Indeed, that is very true, and that is actually funny enough.
So there are some
mid-wank.
There are some like joke items on the Amazon wish list.
Have you ever been stuck on the toilet?
We are not going anywhere near that fucking. No.
Near what? Sorry. The wish list.
No talking about toilet stuff.
Oh no, I just want to talk about the wish list. I mean, because
Yes.
you just said that maybe there are some sort of like novelty items on there, like the bog roll.
Well, I mean, it's.
Are there other novelty items? Like, are the kilogram of mints a novelty item? Or
The kilogram of mints is the fact that I've got a problem.
a sweet tooth.
It is the fact that I am addicted to mints, and so I had essentially I was bloody saying, putting together this Amazon wish list, losing my mind over the fact that you can buy tea bags on Amazon now, and like you can get escargot and you can get roast chickens from Amazon.
Yeah.
And so, having lost my mind over all this stuff, I was like, okay, what are things that I would actually want, that I actually might like to get? Can I get them on Amazon? And then it was like, mints. Oh, I love the mints. I want them all.
They are addictive. Have you ever tried cocaine? Like cocaine, the powder?
I'm just literally going to block your voice now.
Why?
With the I mean, you what brought you about to this like Amazon wishlist thing? Because I thought it was quite a novel thing to do. Has anyone sent you anything off it?
Nope. I literally put it on there because people were like, "Hey, well, we'd love to send you things." So it's essentially, you know, it's like regulating drugs. The moment that you give people a way that they can buy things and send them to you, kind of legally fine without causing problems, then they don't do it anymore, and everything's fine.
So
As soon as I provided a way for people to actually send stuff to me, they stopped wanting to.
So the last thing you received, was it Dark Souls?
Dark Souls was a Steam thing, and Steam things are fine.
Right. I mean, I think it's an interesting idea. I mean, I sort of read a thing you'd written, a blog post where you sort of said, oh, maybe in the future, sometimes you could do it with like homes or houses.
There are people talking about. Well, to be fair, the whole homes and houses thing was literally just, I had been listening to Cortex, this CGP Grey podcast, CGP Grey and Mike Hurley of Relay FM, and and essentially Mike Hurley is in the process of buying a house at the moment, and so they were talking about, wouldn't it be so much easier if you could have an Amazon add to cart thing? So that's where that came from. But there are people, there are like sheikhs who have 3D printed houses and stuff. We live in mad times, bro. Mad times.
Hello? Is anyone speaking?
Hello?
No, no one's speaking.
Oh,
Nah, mate.
What happened?
I thought that was my internet.
Alex can't hear me anymore.
Bloody travesty.
Could you tell Alex that unless he unmutes me, I'm going to ban
Just
him?
guessing, I think Adam's probably been disconnected because of internet.
Yeah.
He's probably on Virgin too.
Yes, I do not like Richard Branson. Although Virgin did make the best Doctor Who books.
True that.
Alex, have you updated the end of your videos yet to add a shout out to your Patreons?
Yes, I have. Well, I'm not going back over past videos, but I am doing that for future videos. Yes. And the latest video doesn't indeed include a shout out to Cestrian Vlogger. Because if you donate more than $5, pledge to, then you get to have your name read out in the after call to action segment.
What if there's a name there that you don't quite agree with? Will you still do the shout out?
I suppose it fundamentally depends how much money they fucking pay. Right? How much money are you willing to pay to pervert my morality? Although I suppose also it's like there is a time factor as well. If you're like, can you please read out the entirety of Ayn Rand's treatise on capitalism as my name? No, I'm not going to. So it has to be a name, and it can't be, it can't be half the shit 4chan comes up with, to be fair, basically. Mind you, I do owe 4chan somewhat of an apology and kudos, considering that I managed to find and learn from and experience this great bounty of joy with regards to Catster comic stuff because of 4chan having been the only place as depraved as me. Or more depraved.
I mean, have you been on 4chan? Not on poll, but
I happened. I sort of realised I had been on 4chan by accident in that I was just looking for any place that had any sign of these comics. And then I was like browsing, and then I was like, oh shit, this is 4chan. Oh well. But it was the 4chan archive.
Maybe you should check it out because it's a pretty diverse place. There's a lot of anime stuff and video games, and a lot of the boards are actually more liberal leaning than the politics board.
I have rejoined Tumblr. That is enough. Yes. I'm essentially trying to de-bullshit my brain.
I mean, 4chan has quite a few good boards. Like, I mean, I browse Co, which is comics. So every week I get like the free comics which have come out because people share them and stuff. There's also a TV board and there's a active Doctor Who thread constantly.
Right. I funnily enough, as someone who is in many different Doctor Who groups and listens to many different Doctor Who podcasts, I don't need another Doctor Who thing, particularly if it's on 4chan.
But that's just like an example of, you know, it's anything.
I appreciate what you're saying, but also I am the kind of person who will just legitimately say, you know what, I don't need to read comics because what my brain immediately leaps to, what's the one thing I have been talking about reading recently? That is the one thing I shall talk about as being the thing I don't read. But genuinely, I don't read comics because I don't like the art styles most of the time. And it's like I don't watch anime, I don't read manga, I don't pay attention to animated stuff in general. I do what I want, what I feel like doing, particularly when it comes to entertainment media. And yeah, I don't need to be spending time on 4chan.
Have you ever considered just unplugging yourself? Hello?
Well, I mean, it depends how you mean.
I mean, from the internet, I like to think you're not on a life support machine at the moment.
I was kind of. I know the nature of these shitlords, so therefore I couldn't be sure what you meant by unplug yourself. I have genuinely considered just deleting my blog and deleting the entirety of my YouTube channel and walking away.
I just mean, you know, taking a break on the internet for a while, you know.
Well, I mean, it's. The thing is
quite
that
therapeutic, but you do miss it.
the internet isn't the problem. The internet is the arseholes. And that's why I did actually say I'm not gonna be allowing comments. Because I don't need the bullshit. Because the thing is, I know how I feel now. I don't need to have a constant inrush of people arguing with me. And to be quite frank, they don't need to waste their time trying to argue with me either. So it's spare the bullshit and just silence that.
Fair enough. Have you ever seen the film The Incredible Shrinking Man?
No, I have not.
I love that film.
Seriously, check it out. Like, it's right up your street.
No, it's not.
It honestly is. The ending to it, like, pretty much describes what you talk about with, you know, the universe and all that stuff. Like, I'm being 100% genuine.
Well, I mean, there are so many things that I need to watch.
I mean, there's an audio book of it as well, which has the same ending. It's basically a book. And the
I
ending
mean,
is
again,
really
I've got
thought-provoking.
tons of audiobooks and podcasts to listen to as well. So, I mean, it has been added to the mental pile of things that I maybe might get around to at some point. Not saying it will never happen, but it's certainly not being advanced more than anything else.
I'd highly recommend it, even if it's a very old film, but the technology they used and the effects that they managed to make for the time are actually really incredible.
Okay.
Are you okay?
Donald Trump says Kim Kardashian has gotten a bit large. This is politics in 2016. This is the American presidential election, everybody. And I saw earlier that apparently somehow Clinton has managed to turn this into a Gamergate issue as well. Politics in 2016 is insane.
But don't you think a bit of this modern politics stuff does come from Gamergate?
I think Gamergate is a name for a symptom, and the cause is disaffected white men, disaffected young white men who don't know what the fuck to do.
The original Gamergate was about ethics in
The
journalism.
original Gamersgate was about a bitter ex-boyfriend deciding to dob in his ex, right? It was about someone wanting to hurt someone who had selfish and sadistic dick move, and I personally I think that there is a legitimate perspective.
What's happened? Did you kick him? Yeah.
There was a hell of a lot of other shit going on.
What?
The Gamergate's what you put on your by your fence when you want to get into it.
Guys,
but
please don't mess around. I will revoke your powers.
What's happened?
Is that you?
What's happened?
It's time to pray. It's time to pray.
Someone's
my
moving.
Lord, my Lord.
Can you leave it out, please?
What happened to Adam?
Hello?
Adam possibly died. Or fell asleep late.
Oh, tragic. Hello?
Yes.
What
I'm
the
still
hell's
here.
going
I'm just sort of waiting for things that are in any way relevant.
Well, I mean, I can't think of questions. If you've got an interesting question, or if anyone does, get in.
Questions that aren't trolling. Oh, politics. It's more that I don't get memes. Fuck no! Jeremy Corbyn is not just a meme. Jeremy Corbyn, I support him because he has policies and ideas. It is the exact fucking opposite of a meme. Donald Trump is a meme. Jeremy Corbyn is a man of principle with plans and reasons
He's low test.
and
He's low testosterone.
policies. And Trump's gonna build a wall.
I think we've got a problem with definitions here.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware,
I was talking memes as in like, ooh, have you got any red, Jahans?
no, I believe a meme is just something that gains popularity. As far as I'm aware.
I think when I'm thinking about memes, I'm thinking about images that are shared over the internet that are used as some kind of variant joke that everybody understands because of their style. Like,
I just call them meme jokes.
Digital video Photoshop equivalent of the knock knock jokes, you know.
Fuck off.
Yeah, basically go away. Stop wasting your lives. I don't matter.
Well, I think you matter. I like your ideas, and I like that you put yourself out there.
All
Not
lives
many
matter.
People are willing to do that.
Yeah, very convincing.